How's it, everyone? Welcome to another string review right here on OpenCourt. I'm Kent, and today I'm testing another string by the company Tru Pro. They sent me their most recent string that they released, which was the Pure Rush. I reviewed that last year and it was one of my favorite strings of 2024. They also included another set of string, which is the string that I am testing today. And that string is the Tru Pro Ghostwire. Let's check it out. Alright, before we get into the review, I'm excited to announce that I have partnered with Tru Pro to give you guys an awesome discount if you guys are interested in trying the Ghostwire or the Pure Rush or any of Tru Pro's other strings. Use the link down in the description below and use the discount code OpenCourt to get 20% off your order of any Tru Pro strings you guys can find. That's a fantastic deal, so check out the description if you guys are interested in trying Tru Pro strings. Alright, so the Tru Pro Ghostwire. So what is special about this string? Well, according to the Tru Pro website that you guys can visit down below, this is the smoothest copolyester string you can find, or at least that's what they claim. And Tru Pro, I've talked with them directly, and they actually recommended the Ghostwire string in a hybrid. This is meant for advanced players. If you're going to use it, it's meant to be the cross string in a hybrid setup because it has a super slick coating and it's made with a new generation copolyester material, which they have not revealed because that's a trade secret. But it is supposed to be a very slick string and thus it's supposed to get a lot of spin, but it is a simple round poly. I'm first going to try it in a full bed because that's how I always test strings. I want to judge them by themselves, and then I am planning to do a hybrid review with the Pure Rush in the mains and the Ghostwire in the crosses because that is the hybrid that Tru Pro recommended and that is the one that they have been pushing out. Hopefully one day they'll release a pre-packaged hybrid of that, but that is the hybrid that I am going to try because they recommended it. So the Ghostwire comes in one color, which is the white color. I like white color strings because they tend to be a little bit more lively, the lighter colors rather than the darker colors. And it comes in 4 gauges. It starts at the thickest 127 and goes 122 and then 117 and then 110. That's a very, very thin gauge. I am trying out the 122, which is right in the middle. I tend to like strings between 120 and 125, so I chose this one. And interestingly, Tru Pro claims that the thinnest gauge version, the 19 gauge 110, is supposed to be as soft as some of the nylon multi-filaments on the market. That is a pretty bold statement. I don't know if that's true. I kind of warn people against using poly no matter how soft it is if they have a sensitive arm, because poly just does not absorb shock the same way that nylon multi-filament or even natural gut for that matter. So be careful if you're going to use poly if you have a sensitive arm, but Tru Pro does claim that the 110 is very, very soft, and the thinner the string is, the more it will give, so it will absorb shock a little bit better. So try that if you're curious to try an arm-friendly version of the Ghostwire. And lastly, on the Tru Pro website, they have something called a player recommendation tab for their strings. The Ghostwire is meant for players transitioning from nylon to poly. Okay, that's good. It's supposed to be a very soft copoly, so people who are first stepping into the world of poly could use something like Ghostwire to get their arm used to it, see if they can transition into that harsh, stiff response that polys tend to have. It's also for players looking for an arm-friendly poly, like I said, and it's ideal for hybrid setups, which Tru Pro has told me directly that the Ghostwire will be good in a hybrid as a cross. Alright, so I got the Ghostwire strung up in one of my favorite rackets, the Speed Pro Legend. This is the 2024 𝐦𝐸𝐬𝐷𝐼C All Black Edition. And I got it strung at 53 pounds. So usually I go 50 or 52 on the Speed Pro because it's a tight 1820. But because this is supposed to be a lot softer polyester than I'm typically used to, I bumped the tension up to 53. So I'm excited to get out on the court and try out this Ghostwire. But first, before we do that, if you guys like this content and want to see more, be sure to overhead smash that like and subscribe button to keep the reviews coming. So let's start with the pros of the Tru Pro Ghostwire string. First of all, Tru Pro recommended this string as a cross in a hybrid, and I will agree that this string would be a good complement for a shaped poly main. It is very responsive, so it will add a decent power boost and feel boost. It is also fairly soft, so if the main is stiff, this string will add some much needed comfort. It is also slick enough to allow the mains to slide and snap back, providing good spin potential. So I agree that the Ghostwire would be a good hybrid cross string, but I'll save that for my follow-up review. For now, as a full bed, the Ghostwire is one of the best simple round polys I've tried in a very long time. The aspect that stands out most for me is the feel and response. The string is on the crisp and lively side, which I really like. On full swings, the crisp response gives me the feedback I like to be able to hit aggressive ground strokes into the corners. The crisp feel gives me the confidence to aim for small targets, and for a player like me, that is more vital for control than having a muted and dead string that simply keeps big swings from flying long. I want that response in my arm so I know exactly where on the court my shots will go, and the Ghostwire gave me that. The crispness also helped on my front court game. The response on my touch and finesse shots allowed me to mix in drop shots, slices, short angle ground strokes, and lobs with confidence. The best type of crisp string allows me to hit a drop shot or angle from defensive positions. Usually my opponent will expect me to hit a conservative defensive shot when I'm compromised, but the Ghostwire let me surprise my opponent by returning an angle with an even sharper angle, or hit a drop shot they weren't expecting and thus could not react fast enough to reach. The Ghostwire allowed me to be multi-dimensional with my all-court game, and that's the big reason why I like crisp strings. The Ghostwire also provides a decent amount of pop and power. The crisp response feels and sounds great when I strike the ball cleanly, and this gives me the illusion of power. But for this particular string, I did notice the power wasn't an illusion. I felt good paw pocketing, and I felt the ball flying off the strings with ample velocity. My backhand with the Speed Pro usually lacks power unless I'm really able to rotate my hips, but the Ghostwire provided a slight boost where I wasn't hitting everything short and forcing me to play defense. I like to be the aggressor, so playing defense isn't my strong suit. But one thing I appreciate about strings like these is that even when I'm forced to hit outstretched shots on defense, the extra power allows me to hit defensive shots deep into my opponent's court so I can get back to offense as quickly as possible. This is what makes Novak Djokovic so deadly, and I'm definitely not saying I'm Djokovic or anything, but I'm able to hit deeper defensive shots that would otherwise land shorter if I was using a stiffer string. The extra power also benefited me on volleys and serves as well. At net, the Ghostwire packed a decent punch on mid and high volleys, and the low transition volley when I'm approaching the net is easier for me to hit with a string that provides a decent pop because I can effortlessly punch the ball low over the net but get it deep so I can continue my approach to the net without having to worry that my opponent is going to tee off on my transition shot. The serves might have been my favorite shot of this playtest. The power level of the Ghostwire helped me to hit good pace on my flat and slice serves. The Speed Pro is not a great serving racket in my opinion because of the tight string pattern, but I was able to still pressure my opponent by hitting a slice serve wide or a slice flat hybrid serve into the body or down the tee. My flat serve percentage was also pretty decent with this string, and that is a serve I typically struggle with most. The low trajectory of the flat serve is where I have issues, but the power from the Ghostwire allowed my flat serve to clear the net at a higher percentage than usual. My kick serve was also decent even with my Speed Pro, which brings me to the next pro, the spin potential. The Ghostwire was a very slick string to the touch, and I could feel the string sliding and displacing well, which led to good snapback. Even as a simple round poly, the Ghostwire got good rotation on my kick serve. This is one of the best spin producing round polys I've tried, and I see why Tru Pro recommends it as a cross string in a hybrid. The strings also produced respectable levels of spin on my slices, although the Speed Pro is naturally good for slices, so this might not be the best measure for the string itself. Nonetheless, I was able to use my slice effectively both on offense and defense. The top spin on forehands was also respectable, and because of the high levels of string movement, I think the Ghostwire would complement a vertical swinger as well. And lastly, the Ghostwire is a rather comfortable and plush feeling string. I felt good ball pocketing when I struck the ball in the sweet spot, and I didn't feel any jarring sensation when I hit off center. The string isn't mushy or springy at all, and this is the type of soft string I like. However, if you suffer from arm problems, I would say the crisp vibrations of the Ghostwire would make this not ideal, although if your arm problems are minor, I think you could use this, although I would still advise caution. So overall, I was very pleasantly surprised by the crisp and lively response to go along with the power and respectable spin potential. But this string is not perfect by any means. So now let's get into the cons of the Tru Pro Ghostwire. Unfortunately, the biggest con is that this string didn't really stand the test of time. The tension dropped pretty sharply after the first session. Tension maintenance isn't really a huge issue for me because I usually cut out strings before they become unplayable, However, even I noticed a drop in tension after the first set. I noticed the launch angle was getting higher and I struggled to keep my aggressive forehands low and inside the baseline once the tension dropped. I started to second guess my returns and approach shots because the fear I would send the ball long started to creep in. That's when I started to make unforced errors. I was actually much more confident playing against harder hitters because they gave me pace that I could redirect. However, when I had to generate my own pace, I started to make more mistakes once the tension dropped. I think this weakness could be mitigated by pre-stretching or bumping the tension up to account for the drop. This ties into my second con, which is the below average control. I think the Ghostwire as a full bed isn't an ideal string for an aggressive hitter because of the drop in control after the tension drops. I was able to get a decent amount of control on full swings, but for those who use a more open string pattern, you may send a lot of balls long. I think this string would perform better at a higher tension. On the plus side, my serves were getting faster and clearing the net much easier once the tension dropped though, because I felt the ball wasn't sitting on the strings as long, so it was able to come off with a bit more kinetic energy. However, this bounce off the strings led to lack of control of my ground strokes. Volleys weren't a huge issue for me because I have a very compact swing, but if you take your racket back a lot on volleys, you will spray balls all over the court, even if you aren't using the Ghostwire. Besides these two issues, I didn't find anything else I particularly disliked with this string. I agree with Tru Pro that this string will play much better as a cross string in a hybrid, so I will definitely be trying that next. If I were to use this string again as a full bed, I would pre-stretch a bit to mitigate the sharp loss in tension because the stiffer feel won't bother me. So now, who is the Tru Pro Ghostwire for? Well, honestly, I think it's for players who are looking for a slick, soft, round poly to use as a hybrid cross. This is right up there with Yonex Polytour Fire, Hyper G Round, and Alu Power Fuel as my top cross string pairings. A shaped poly main would be able to slide really well on the Ghostwire, and you will also get a decent amount of pop and feel with this as a cross. It could be paired with natural gut or a multi as well, since the low friction coating and round profile won't saw into the mains. If you want to try it as a full bed, it's meant for players who are looking for a soft but not mushy poly that also provides a lively feel and power. So now let me hear from you guys. Have you tried the Ghostwire in a full bed or hybrid? What have you guys paired it with? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and look forward to my next hybrid review of the Tru Pro Pure Rush in the mains and Ghostwire in the crosses coming very soon. Thank you for watching this review of the Tru Pro Ghostwire string right here on OpenCourt. If you guys like this content, be sure to overhead smash that like and subscribe button, and I'll see you on an OpenCourt.